barely 2 stars. Barely pushing, just pushing, crawling for scraps. The book was not very good, honestly. Welcome back everybody to Chibi Reading. I am Chi, aka CHIOMA, or CHIOMA, aka Chi. Today we're going to be doing my August wrap-up. August was low-key a slow month for me. You know, I didn't read it as much as I wanted to. I definitely read more towards manga than any other genre. So if you want to know what I read this month, stay tuned. So the first book I read was an amazing fantasy book. It is A Kingdom of Exiles, the Outcast fantasy series by S.B. Nova. This book was amazing. I really had no expectations for it, but this book was amazing. So it starts off, the main girl has a tragic childhood. She loses both of her parents and she has to stay with her evil stepmother. Her stepmother tries to do all kinds of things to put her to work, sell her off, steal her house, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then kind of Salem witch trial-y, she is accused of being a fairy, accused of being in the fae. And because of that, they kind of cast her off and they're like, okay, we're gonna put you in this death trap, and if you die, then we know you were human. If you don't die, we know you're a fairy. So it's kind of lose-lose for her. So she feels really abandoned by the only town, the only people she's ever known. And then in the middle of the book, she's cast off into the world of the fae, where she meets so many people. There's so many characters that the author does a great job of making you not know, push or pull. Are they good? Are they bad? Is this the romantic interest? I know this is a romance book, but when is he coming in? So you kind of have a lot of kind of potential leads that come in. You have a lot of potential allies that come in, a lot of betrayals, a lot of back and forth. But she ends up at this camp where they train humans to fight for the fae. So she's kidnapped. So she doesn't really want to be there, doesn't think she should be there, but then here she is. And then she meets her instructor, who she kind of has a little thing of. She meets another fairy, who she kind of has a little thing of. And then she discovered that she actually has some latent powers of her own. So now she's just like, am I a witch? Am I a fairy? Am I just a weird human? What's going on? So she's thrust into this world where she actually starts to find out more about herself than she did in the human world when she's in the land of the fae. The romance in this is my favorite type of romance. I love a kind of power dynamic type romance where there's kind of like, you know, someone in a position of power who kind of like, you know, loses themselves to a subordinate. Love the type of romance. It was definitely a slow burn, but definitely worth it. Great characters, great book all around. 5 stars to A Kingdom of Exile. The second and third book I read this August are Awakens and Fire Falling by Elise Kova. 2 books also available on Kindle Unlimited. Amazing fantasy series. So it starts off with a girl. She's in love with a prince. He's known as the Playboy Prince, right? So she loves him. So she's a scholar, or one of the people who works under the librarian, right? So she is tasked with the job of finding the cure when he comes back from war and is injured with this mysterious ailment. So her and her colleagues, they go to the library and she's just working day in and day out trying to find the cure because her boo is sick and she got to save the day. So she's just looking, and then eventually they find a cure. So the people tell them that they find a cure and you guys can stop looking. So she's relieved. So she's just sitting patiently, you know, like, how's my boo doing? What's going on? Eventually she gets kidnapped into the Tower of Sorcerers. And in this story, the humans and the sorcerers kind of live separate lives. Like, there's kind of a negative stigma around sorcerers, even though they are more powerful. So she's kidnapped to the Tower of Sorcerers and she's just like, it's not my portion. What am I doing here? And they're just like, oh, so you are the one who found the cure for the prince. And she was just like, I did? Well, that's great. That's cool. But then they tell us, yeah, so we think you have magic. And she was just like, it's not me again. It's not me. So she's just like, I gotta go. Please take me out of here. I don't want to be here. I don't really like y'all. Blah, blah, blah. So she leaves, and then she starts this pen pal relationship through the book she's reading at the library with a mysterious person, telling her that you gotta embrace who you are. Like, if this is what you did, if you got magic, then you got magic. And she's just like, it's not me. I don't know who you are. Please leave me alone. So it kind of starts off as this kind of like enemies, pen pal relationship, and then it starts more friendly, and then it gets into something more. And this book is really great. And there's 4 different elements. So it's called Awakens because there's 4 different elements, hella Avatar-esque. And each person who has magic can have fire, you can have air, you can have earth, or you can have water. So this first book is really about the history of the air elementals, or the people who have air as a power. So it goes through that. It's a great slow burn romance if you love magic, if you love fantasy, if you love a slow burn romance, and if you love an enemies to lovers romance, which I absolutely adore. I definitely recommend the Awakens series. The 4th book that I read this month is To Woo a Warrior by Jane Cousins. And y'all, honestly, this may be the last time I ever take a Goodreads recommendation, because this book came so highly recommended. When I tell you, threads of people endorsing the recommendation for this book, and it was barely 2 stars. Barely pushing, just pushing, crawling for scraps. The book was not very good, honestly. So it's meant to be a paranormal romance, and this world is kind of supernatural in its entirety. So there are witches, there are warlocks, there are people who can like firebend or just have some firepower. There are all kinds of different supernatural characters. So the main girl here is kind of like that girl who is known as a tomboy, you know. She grew up with a lot of brothers. She's like 6'7". She's really tall. She can fight. So she's just really strong, really stocky. And that's kind of like a chip on her shoulder. Like, you know, I'm not the feminine one. I'm not the girly one. I'm not the one that people like. And then she meets a guy and he's trying to woo her very heavy, like coming on strong, being obvious. Like, you know, I don't see these other girls. It's just you and me, homie. And she's just like, what's his game? What is he playing at? Like, he doesn't like me. He's just like, you know what? I really like you. She's like, I wonder what he means. And it's so infuriating and so annoying, and the romance is just not done smoothly in this book. Like, it's not done smoothly. It's kind of just like no, 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 and then she's just like, but yes, 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 and he's just like, no, no, no. I'm just like, what? Do either of you know what you want? Are you not adults? Like, come on now. So I don't recommend this book. I read it. It was okay. I don't think I'll continue the series. The series kind of follows the main girl and all of her siblings and friends, so it's kind of like one of those anthologies, and it came recommended as a good other series to like get into if you really love Gina Showalter Lords of the Underworld series, and that series is on a whole nother level. So, but I read it. Would I recommend it? No, but that's that. The next book I read is another paranormal romance by Suzanne Wright, and it's When He's Dark. I really just said that name out loud and I was just like, what's the name of it? It's really When He's Dark, but we're not talking about the title of these books today. But it's called When He's Dark. It's supposed to be a spin-off of her Phoenix Wolves and her Mercury Wolves series. Both the series I really like. I think Suzanne Wright is another really good anthology teller of romance novels. So it's one where you could follow the characters. You have a first book where it has the main person's book, and then you introduce the other characters in those books. So you kind of start to anticipate the books of the other characters while reading the previous books, and I absolutely adore that. So Suzanne Wright is also a really good one. So When He's Dark is kind of a spin-off, and sorry if I'm getting the shifters mixed up, but follows a Wolverine and a Palace Cat and kind of their story and their kind of tug of war. And I like the age difference in this. I kind of love an age difference romance, so that's really cool. I like that power dynamic. If you've kind of read some Suzanne Wright, it follows the kind of same archetype where, you know, someone's threatening the pack, either the Palace Pack or the pack of the Wolverine. So they have to fight because a outside entity is threatening the inside entity. So that happens here. Would I say When He's Dark is up there with the Phoenix series or the Mercury Wolf series? I wouldn't. It is a spin-off, and I do think it's kind of below both of the series. But if you do like Suzanne Wright and you're kind of like missing her series, I'd say this is a good one to pick up. The next book is actually a series of manga, and I read them all from beginning to end, and it's called My Little Monster, and it is a, you know, typical shoujo romance. I have the softest spot for shoujo romance, and this one was so good. I love when it's not too cutesy. I love when it's actually kind of related to school life. I love when the characters actually like have homework. I enjoy it. So it follows the main girl. She is known to be, I do school. That's what I'm here for. I don't make friends. I don't talk to you. Get out my way. I'm doing school. I'm gonna be the top of every single list every single time, which is fine. And then follows a delinquent. Like, he be fighting, he be getting expelled. Like, you know, like he's just there on polar opposites. So she's charged with giving him his homework when he gets expelled. Why? Who knows? Because she's responsible probably. And then he meets her and he's just like, hi, you're really nice. And she's just like, I thought you would be a killer. And so she's just like, well, bye. He's just like, wait, be best friends. And she's just like, school is all I do. So they kind of start kind of like this weird friendship where he like really enjoys her company. She's just like, I only do school, but you should come to school. You know, it's really cool. It's really important. Do your future, all that stuff. So he finally comes and she finds out he's actually one of those annoyingly, unnaturally smart people who will not study, not do anything, but get number one while she's here slaving in the library, getting number two. So it kind of starts that very interesting dynamic, and you really see their characters start to kind of like intertwine in each other's lives, and kind of like their personalities start to flow. So she's really just stoic, no friends, no interaction. He's really just, everyone thinks I'm angry, so no friends, no interaction. And how they both kind of try to ease their personalities a bit in order to kind of change that. And in the end, they start to be like, you know, gain more people to talk to, gain more friends, gain a better understanding of each other. So if you love a shoujo romance, I definitely recommend the My Little Monster series. And the only book that is not from Kindle Unlimited, but I do think it's available in Kindle Unlimited, it's Devil's Line book 3. So I've been going through these books so quickly. I absolutely love Devil's Sign. So Devil's Sign is a vampire romance and also kind of suspense thriller. So it follows a vampire half-breed who works for the police force, and he's on the force that is tasked with making sure that devils, it's what the vampire breed is called in this book, do not kill humans. So that's when he is kind of like sent in the field. If there's a devil attack, we want to prevent the devil from going crazy and killing the human. So that's what he's tasked for. And he meets this girl who's like almost gets killed by her best friend who's the devil, and he kind of like assumes this kind of watcher role over her while finding her very, very intriguing. And she's just really this nice docile girl, and they kind of start a budding romance when she finds out more about him, like that he's a devil, that he's half a devil, that he can't control his transformations. And then she kind of gets entangled in the whole world of his task force. And then they find out there's this organization that's trying to wipe all of the devils off of the planet, out of Tokyo, and she's just like, but my man's is a devil. So it's really interesting. Then she gets kidnapped, all these things. It's a really great series. I feel like if you like Tokyo Ghoul, you'll definitely like Devil's Line. If you like any vampire romantic type manga, I definitely recommend Devil's Line. So those are all the books I read in August. August was a pretty solid month, honestly. I only had one book that I would like not recommend to anyone. Other than that, all these books are really great. I would reread them. I'm really glad I purchased them and or got them off Kindle Unlimited. So if you've read any of the books or have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.